Hello, welcome again to the Workshop of Wood Spun Round. This is Doug. I am so glad to have you with me as we go into another project here. This is a little different, it's a short one. It's also a request by my son. He doesn't ask me for very much, but when he does, I know it's important to him. And so he asked me over Christmas break, while he was home from college, if I would make him a conductor's baton. Knowing full well that I'm capable, he made this request and was a little sheepish about it, like maybe I wouldn't do it, but yes, of course I'd do it. He wanted it to be, wanted the handle to have be a special wood, something rich and dark that you wouldn't see just anywhere, not something you couldn't just go down to the music shop and buy. So what I've picked here is a red coolibaugh burl. If you've done anything with Australian burls, you know they are hard, and this is no exception. This one is extremely hard, so the dust and the little chips that you see flying off are about as good as it gets. He had some very specific measurements that he wanted me to come up with, and so that's what I'm doing. I'm measuring and marking just so I can get it exactly the way he wanted it done, or as close as possible. I'm gauging it here using a parting tool, just getting it down to size. He wanted it a specific diameter as well as length. So that's what I'm doing here. I'm just marking it, getting some markings so that I can get my working piece down to the size of the maximum diameter. Actually, just slightly over the maximum diameter, so I can turn, put some shape in it, and sand it here in just a little bit. Just changing tools there. That bowl gouge has gotten a little dull on me, and wanted to try out this skew. It doesn't last long. I get a little bit better shavings coming off with this skew. It's my little 1/2 inch Doug Thompson skew, and it does a tremendous job, but it's still not the long curls that I usually get from the skew. Plus, it's wanting to bounce in that burl. Those eyes are just coming around and knocking it around like crazy. So we've gone to a different bowl gouge here. Still a 1/2 inch, but this is a Sorby. No, it's not. This is my Doug Thompson still. I haven't switched over just yet. But again, all we're doing is removing wood, getting it down to the maximum diameter. Some of my more recent projects, I've thought I've been turning some hardwood, but once you pick up some of this Australian burl, you realize that the woods we have here in the United States just are not all that hard. A few exceptions, but this stuff is super hard. Gotten it down to size, and now we're just going to drill a hole down the center for the shaft of the baton. I drill in just a little bit at a time and have to clean this drill bit out. This drill bit gets clogged up with these shavings and it just stops. And so I have to pull it out 3 or 4 times and get the shavings out. Even have to pick them out with a utility knife. We've gotten all the hole drilled, and now we've got the tailstock brought back up as I put some shape on this handle. Found it interesting that he had one of his professor's batons, and he just didn't like the professor's baton. It's a good one, but he just didn't like it, and so he wanted it longer, a bit heavier, and a little bit larger in diameter as well. So that's what I'm trying to do. I'm working here. I've got a bowl gouge, it's been ground according to Mark Soleil's way of doing it. And so it does a pretty good job here, and we're just working on getting that back end down and getting some more wood wasted off of here. We'll start putting some shape in as well. One of the beauties of this hard burl is not only is it hard to turn, but it takes your detail so nicely and holds it. You don't have to worry about it chipping out on you very much. You don't want to be crazy with it, but just take nice clean cuts, take your time, go easy with it. It will give you, it will reward you for your efforts. You can rest assured on that. Just making some room on the back end here. That little valley right there is where we're going to end up parting this off, but I'm just getting it ready so that when we do part it off, I don't have to guess at where I'm going. I'm preparing it, getting it ready, and I don't have to cut into my handle with my part either. Getting rid of a little lump that I had noticed. Even after I start sanding, that lump, I have not quite gotten rid of it before I started sanding. So here we're sanding. We started with 100 grit. At some point in the sanding, I'm going to actually get my gouge back and fix that little lump. We sanded from 100 to 320. Here I'm finishing up. I'm blowing the dust out really good. That's some denatured alcohol that I've put in a spray bottle. Sprayed it down real good just to get the remaining dust out of the wood. Use my paper towel, rub it down really good. You can't see it there, but I was amazed at how much dust was on there. This is some sanding sealer. I've already cleaned it out, let that dry, and this sanding sealer is to seal all of those pores, all of those burl eyes that are open there. I'm actually going to put 2 coats on. That first coat, I used the paper towel and just not only smoothed it, but also helped push it into the wood and dry it just a bit. Same thing here, but we're going to let it spin as well and get ready for the next step in the process. Once that's dried, I'm going to put a few coats of thin CA finish on here. I don't do this very often, but this piece needs to be very durable, and so I'm going to put about 6, 7, 8 coats of thin CA glue on here. I put it on, and as you see, I'm going to step back and just let it do its thing for just a moment. Just taking a look there to see how good a coat I got on there. Come back with the second coat already. It does not take this CA long to set up. As we get further along, I am going to spritz it a few times with accelerator as well. But for the most part, I'm just going to let it dry on its own. I feel like it gets a little bit more durable finish when it sets up on its own instead of being accelerated. Seems like when you hit it with the accelerator, yes, it dries fast, but it dries harder, a little more brittle. By letting it set up on its own, I feel like it's a little more resilient. Still hard, but it's not quite as brittle Here's the third coat, I believe it was. But like I said, I'm gonna put 6, 7, 8 coats on this thing. There's a little accelerator there. Takes longer for the accelerator to dry than it does for the glue. I hope you're able to see that glue is setting up quite shiny. It's brought the color of the wood out. It's giving it a nice high gloss finish on there. But this glue is not going to be the end of it. I'm gonna finesse the glue even a little bit. I think I'll show you just another coat or two and then we'll move on from there. But I did want to show you this, this is a quick process. It doesn't take forever to put a CA glue finish on. It's pretty fast. The only thing that really slows you down is if you don't use any accelerator, and if you do something to cause a lot of wrinkles in the glue finish. And usually what causes that is when you try to work it too much. You'll notice here I go one direction, go back the other direction. And I think that's the one exception where I did it the third time. But after that, you see right there, I'm going to use some Axe abrasive paste. Axe is a great paste, a great abrasive paste, made right here in the United States. In fact, it's made in in Pennsylvania. It's a mom and pop operation, not a big company at all. If you'd like to try some Axe, feel free to use discount code Doug15. It'll get you 15% off. It's not a lot, but it goes a long way. And it's being recognized by some pretty big names, so you might want to try some. Here's the polishing and restoring paste wax. This is a heavy carnauba wax. Tom had a good thing going with his original formula of the wax, but this past year he has decided to up the carnauba. He doubled the amount of carnauba that goes into the formula, and so it's a much harder, stiffer wax, and as you'll see, it works out very, very nicely. What I typically do is put it on with the lathe stationary, and I'm turn the lathe on very slowly and go over it a time or two just to make sure I've got a good even coat. Then I'll let it sit for a bit, and then I'll come back and buff at a higher speed. You want to build up just a little bit of heat. You don't need a lot, but just a little bit of heat to kind of melt that carnauba into the wood, allowing it to do its very, very best. And then you want to let it cool. It's best not to handle it for about an hour or so. Let it cool all the way down. And then even then, you don't want to really manhandle it probably till the next day. I'm about to experiment with another protocol on applying this wax, and we'll let you know how that goes. I've put on 2 coats of the wax now, and there you go. You can see that shine has really, really popped. It was good with the CA glue, but after the abrasive paste and now the wax, that finish is just, it sparkles. It's fantastic. So we're going to part this off. I'm going to start with a skew and just kind of work that valley down even more. Starting back in my waste wood, just kind of a little bit of a V cut there. And I am not getting real heavy with that. I'm just very lightly doing this. I don't want to mess anything up. Don't want to get a catch and get into my actual handle This hasn't taken a super long time, but I don't want to mess it up and have to redo. Done all I care to do with that one. We're going to get the thin parting tool, the one I made with the kitchen knife. Right here, what you saw me do was loosen my quill lock, and I just took the pressure off. It's not completely gone out of the way, but there's no pressure on it at this point. So I've got my kitchen knife parting tool. We're just very carefully going in there and taking this off. There's not a whole lot to cut. If you haven't already, I'd love for you to subscribe so that you get to see all of my content as it comes out. While you're there, hit the notification bell, and YouTube will let you know when I post. If you'll go ahead and hit the like button, make a comment down in the comment section. And since you've watched this far, if you'll go down there and just put in handle in the comments, I would greatly appreciate it. Thanks for watching. This is Doug at Wood Spun Round, and until we get to be together again, I hope you're able to spin them around.